Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Tadmock99. Now, as you know, I play Mortal Kombat religiously. And that's perfect for today's topic, because today we're going to be discussing Mortal Kombat and its connections to a major world religion.
Christianity.
That's right, Christianity. Now, before we get into it, there are other fighting games that actually tackle Christianity head-on. One of those games is Fight of Gods. This game features Jesus Christ as a playable character. Actually, it has characters from all kinds of different religions mashed up into one fighting game. This game is so controversial, it was banned in Malaysia. Not only that, in fact, it got the entire Steam platform banned just for hosting it. Another fighting game to include Jesus Christ is South Park Ass Kicker. This was a free browser game that's also an obvious Mortal Kombat parody. This one also featured Jesus Christ as a playable fighter. This was originally designed for Adobe Flash, so it's not 100% playable today, but there are some websites out there where you can still play a version of it. But first and foremost, this is a Mortal Kombat channel, so we're going to be looking at Mortal Kombat and how it has direct references to Christianity. And from time to time, I'll even show direct quotes from the Bible just to prove my point. When I show Bible quotes, I'll do it the coolest way I know how to do it, by using a version of the King James Bible published in the 90s on the Nintendo Game Boy. Yeah, that's right, it was released as an unlicensed cartridge by a company called Wisdom Tree. So before we get into it, let me just tell you what inspired this video. The inspiration for this topic was a letter that a fan wrote in to the Mortal Kombat comics by Malibu. Michelle Quevedo wrote in and said, "I do have one criticism, and it's actually more like an observation. Raiden is a god. Some of the MK characters, namely Sonya, Cage, and Jax, come from a culture that is monotheistic. Here, they are encountering a being that calls himself a god, one of many in a pantheon similar to what the ancient Greeks believed in. I think they would be a little hard-pressed to believe him. I don't think that we've seen a realistic depiction of how they react to the Thunder God. The same thing occurs in the MK novel by Jeff Robin. Everyone seems to be missing this." And that's a good point. According to the CIA World Factbook, over 70% of the US population practices some form of Christianity, with the numbers for monotheism in general being even higher than that. I mean, let's face it, Christianity itself is the mainstream. It's the dominant religion in the society. It's so much so that even for non-believers, some Christian thinking is going to be absorbed into your thought process. If someone sneezes, you're just going to reflexively say, "God bless you." If something good goes your way, you're going to say, "Thank God."
I pay money, you carry the bags. Or is that too complicated?
No. I get it.
Good. Thank God I didn't ask him to park the car.
And if something doesn't go your way, you might be tempted to take the Lord's name in vain.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
So it's kind of fitting that they use Johnny Cage to illustrate that. But other than that little bit here and there, that letter is correct. The Mortal Kombat team doesn't really tackle this issue head on. Everything that you see is very subtle hints. Like, pick this temple for instance. I always assumed that this background is showing what used to be a normal Christian church, until it was transformed into a place of evil during Shao Kahn's invasion of the Earthrealm. Then there's the graveyard stage. You can tell if you look at the tombstones that a lot of them have crosses, so that shows you that a lot of the people buried here were of the Christian faith. But beyond that, one of the main ways that Christianity has influenced Mortal Kombat is the way the afterlife works. It's not like in Eastern religions where you might be punished by being reincarnated as an animal, or where your soul can reach nirvana, or anything like that. No, in Mortal Kombat it's very straightforward. The good go to heaven, and the guilty go to hell. We can see this in Johnny Cage's ending in Mortal Kombat Trilogy, where his soul moves on to a higher place. And we learn in MK4 that when he's in heaven, he gets to hang out with the gods like Raiden. So that's pretty much the way it works in Christianity as well. We also see, mainly through Scorpion, that the guilty get punished by going to hell. Yeah, in Mortal Kombat, the Netherrealm is essentially the same thing as hell. In fact, here's a page from the instruction manual for Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero that confirms it. Although in later adaptations, they're starting to get away from this idea.
What in the hell? Close. Netherrealm.
And then there's Lucifer. The word Lucifer comes from Latin, meaning light-bearing or shining one, and of course, this refers to the devil. Lucifer is mentioned in the book of Isaiah, where it says, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?" Of course, Lucifer is a character in the Mortal Kombat universe. That's confirmed, it's canon. In fact, I did a whole video just about Lucifer. If you haven't seen that, check it out now. Beyond that, there's the phrase, fallen angel, that has also entered the common vernacular. In fact, the phrase fallen angel can be heard in one of the Mortal Kombat album soundtracks for Kano, Use Your Might, where it's used in one of the lyrics.
I'm on your side, you are wanted, and you're haunted. You're the bad guy, but I feel for you. You're the danger, a fallen angel, but I like you. You're the strongest of them all.
Okay, so we've covered heaven, we've covered hell. Next, let's talk about the realm of Edenia. Did you know that the name Edenia comes from Eden? That's right. In fact, the story itself is also pretty similar. In the Garden of Eden, God gave Adam and Eve a paradise before some serpent came along and ruined it. In the Mortal Kombat universe, there was also a paradise in the realm of Edenia before Shao Kahn came along and ruined it. Eden is first mentioned in the book of Genesis. And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. There's also some gospel music about it.
In the Garden of Eden, honey, don't you know that I love you? In the Garden of Eden, baby, don't you know that I'll always be true?
Wait a minute. That sounds like rock and or roll. That's better. Okay, so the next main source of Bible quotes is actually Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Right up front, Shao Kahn begins the movie by going on a creationist rant.
The earth was created in 6 days, so too shall it be destroyed. And on the 7th day, mankind will rest in peace.
That idea also comes from the book of Genesis. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the 6th day. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the 7th day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made. And in case you missed it, there's even a scene in the movie where Jax is talking about Moses.
My powers are leaving me. Who does this dude think he is? Moses part in the Red Sea?
Moses was a major part of the book of Exodus. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. And then there's this line, elevating Raiden to the status of the creator himself.
Pathetic and weak. Clearly Raiden has molded you in his image.
That is again another reference to the book of Genesis. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." So that's about it for Mortal Kombat Mortal Kombat Annihilation. But there's another MKA that would be relevant here. Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Yeah, Mortal Kombat Armageddon. The end of all things. The final battle of good versus evil. The word Armageddon itself appears in the book of Revelation. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. So the word Armageddon is derived from the Hebrew phrase Har Megiddo, meaning mountain of Megiddo. Yeah, a mountain is the actual site where the final battle of Armageddon is supposed to take place. And in fact, a mountain is where the final battle takes place in MK Armageddon. So, go figure. Also, in Mortal Kombat 11, Geras has a lot of dialogue that kind of stands out.
You escaped the sea of blood.
I became food for a passing Leviathan.
That was the end of your luck.
The Leviathan is mentioned in the book of Job, where God asks Job, "Canst thou draw out Leviathan with an hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down?"
Now there's some debate amongst biblical scholars about whether a Leviathan refers to an actual marine animal, like a whale, or a mythological sea creature. But that's not important right now. Geras also mentions Jon of Arc.
You remind me of someone.
Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, Helen of Troy.
Joan of Arc, the young martyr.
Now, of course, Joan of Arc isn't in the Bible, but she is a famous Christian martyr. And this is a statue of her. Yeah, this is a photo I took a couple months ago while visiting the Philadelphia Museum of Art. And here's a photo of the lovely Mega Babe, whose birthday happens to fall on St. Joan of Arc's feast day. Now the last one we'll be talking about, fittingly, is the Last Supper. This is a famous scene in the Bible that was depicted in all 4 Gospels. I'll go ahead and read you the one from Matthew. The disciples did as Jesus had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now when the evening was come, he sat down with the 12. Yeah, this well-known Bible story is made even more famous by Italian Renaissance artist Leonardo da Vinci. I'm sure everybody knows this painting by now, and you may also remember that Mortal Kombat 11 had its own take on this famous dinner scene, as shown in Fujin's ending, where of course the 12 disciples were replaced with various Mortal Kombat characters, good and bad. So that's about it as far as Mortal Kombat making references to Christianity. But did you know that it happened the other way around? Yeah, that's right, there's some churches that made direct references to Mortal Kombat. Check out this letter that was sent to Electronic Gaming Monthly back in the 1990s. Dear EGM, I found this weird flyer in the Sunday, March 31st, 1996 edition of the Denver Post. I don't know about you, but it seemed a little too familiar, don't you think? Yep, this is part of a flyer from the Heritage Christian Center advertising an Easter show called The Immortal that featured music, live animals, flying angels, and much more. Not to mention, a lot of the actors from Mortal Kombat are hardcore Christians themselves, like Jon Turk, who's most well known for playing Sub-Zero and Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 3, and all of the male ninjas in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Jon Turk wrote a book called The Trinity Bible. I've got one right here, signed by the author. Now, this book is not intended to be a replacement for the Bible, but instead is considered by the author to be a formal introduction to Jesus. And there's another book in my collection called Immortal Kombat by Jerry Vines. This is essentially a deep dive on the Book of Job, and the author explains how life is a series of tests. He relates it to Mortal Kombat, at least in the beginning, at least in Chapter 1, specifically referencing the ongoing battle between Earthrealm and Outworld. In the book, he makes it clear that life is a struggle, maybe not to the extent that it is for the Mortal Kombat characters, and maybe not to the extent that it is for Job, but to some degree or other, life is a struggle for everyone. Alright, so I'm going to present links to both of those books down in the description below, so if you want a copy for your collection, be sure to check those out. Anyway, that is all the references for Mortal Kombat and Christianity that I can think of, so if you can think of any that I missed, be sure to let me know down in the comments. If you liked this video, if you learned something new about Mortal Kombat that you didn't know before, go ahead and leave me a like. Also, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time I drop a new Mortal Kombat video. I'm always talking about Mortal Kombat on this channel, so in fact, be sure to go ahead and check out some of my previous work that I've done. See what you think. Alright guys, well that's about it. I want to thank everyone who helped me out with this video, and I want to thank you for watching. God bless.